Oh, you think for yourself? We like that around here. This is American Viewpoints with Mike Ferguson.
What does it all mean to you? What does it all mean to your family? I know you're saying, what does what mean? Well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to look at politics. We're going to make it personal, but let's try something different. Let's have a little class about it, okay? Also, in just about 15 minutes, is social media making your kid unhappy? There's actually a science to that question, and we're going to talk to the man who literally wrote the book on it. Hey, my name is Mike Ferguson. Thank you for being a part of American Viewpoints, and this is our first program. Don't worry, this is not all about politics, but that's just kind of what's in the news right now. We're going to keep our finger on the pulse of what's happening around the country. And the fact of the matter is a lot of that happens through government. But we're also going to look at a lot of things that are culture and nonprofit and charity and matters of faith. And we're going to ask tough questions about important topics, but we're always going to keep in mind, what does it mean to you? And what does it mean to your family? Politics is a contact sport, so to speak. And we like to think that this craziness and hatred is a new thing, but it's not. It's been around for centuries, literally. Now, the reality is that politics is what affects our lives. Everything from the roads to your house to how much money you get to keep when you go home from work. And it's not just a matter of Hollywood for ugly people, as I've heard it called. It's not just philosophical Olympics. It does affect us in very, very real ways. But now it just seems to me that we're settling in and we're getting comfortable crossing that line between disagreement and debate and destruction. Joining me right now, a good friend of mine, Chris Arps from Project 21, which is a national network of black conservatives. Chris, my friend, good to talk to you again.
Good talking to you, Mike.
And I like having you in the studio with me when I'm working because of the perspective you've got on a national level. Project 21 has an interesting perspective. We'll get into that and let you pitch that here in just a little bit, being a national network. Now, a couple of things have happened just in the recent last few weeks that I think kind of exemplify how bad this is getting on things. Now, listen, there are issues that you feel really strongly about and I feel really strongly about that are deal breakers. I will never support that person if whatever. And that's fine. We should do that. But listen to the state representative. His name is Brian Sims out of Pennsylvania. So he's ardently pro-Planned Parenthood. He's ardently, pro-choice, pro-abortion. And that's his right to that opinion. I happen to disagree, but that's his right. And he finds an old woman who is simply praying across the street. She doesn't have signs. She's not yelling at anybody. And he goes to confront her. And this is what he had to say. And by the way, this is from his own cell phone.
But we're not going to let them get away with it. Absolutely not. No, ma'am. Don't hide. Don't hide. You're publicly protesting women coming to a Planned Parenthood. It's something they have a right to do. Don't hide from it. Don't hide from it. Have the courage of your broken convictions if this is what you're going to do. Everyone, this is what they deserve and this is what they need. Every single time any of us walk by something like this, we're letting them win. We're letting them think that they are right, and we know better.
She was just praying, Chris.
Yeah. Politics is a contact sport, as you said, and it's been like that since the beginning. I think what is hastening a lot of this crudeness in politics is the rise of social media, where anyone can get their 10 minutes, 15 minutes of fame by creating a viral video. I think this is what this state representative had in mind at first was, hey, I'm going to do something, create something viral to promote my cause. And what we've seen so many times with social media is people go overboard with it and forget that this is going to go out and become viral and people are going to see it and people may become offended. And I think that's what's happened in this case. I think he went way overboard, calling this woman out, especially when she was being peaceful.
Very. Yeah. Now, I don't want to just make this about this guy, but I just think he exemplifies where we are now. For instance, he on another day went and found a woman and it looks like 3 teenagers and decided he was going to run out. And by the way, this seems like a pretty big guy. Sure. I mean, he's certainly the camera angle. He's looking down at all of them. And he went up to them and they were standing peacefully. They had some tracts they were handing out. And he walks up with his cell phone and he does this.
So I've got $100 to anybody who will identify who this is. $100. See if you got some friends out here. $100. It'd be easier if you just give me your name and your address.
Rich,
Come on.
Rich behind me.
Rich, where you from?
Lanestown.
Rich, what makes you think that it's your job to tell women what's right for their bodies? And the truth is, I'm not really asking because I don't care. Shame on you.
Okay, now that's, as I've been told, called doxing. I have money for you to identify this person so that we can make their life a living hell. This is a whole new line in the sand that I don't think should have existed, much less been crossed.
And it shouldn't be something that we do. And I think, people on the left and right
both are guilty.
See things like this and say this kind of crosses the line. Again, I think it goes back to 15 minutes of fame. I think this was this guy's main impetus, was trying to do something and become viral. And, we're talking about politics, and I hate to just get a little partisan here, but it's always curious to me that the so-called party of tolerance and diversity are the main ones that give examples of non-tolerance. And I think what this guy is doing is very non-tolerant.
Sure. And to be fair, the right's been guilty of it. People on the right have been guilty of it at times. Right now, we're seeing all kinds of it from the left, but let's not assume it's one side or the other. And I know you don't assume that. I mean, we should take politics personally. We should take policy personally because it does affect us. But what we're seeing, whether it's restaurants or somebody just going to a ball game or the vice president going to see a play or musical or elderly women praying outside of a clinic, we're now shaming and trying to scare people from being involved and engaged. And then we wonder why we don't have more good people running for office or getting involved.
Yeah, and the sad thing about it is that our leaders, our so-called leaders like Maxine Waters and others, I'm being partisan again. Because I'm Democrat, and because I'm Republican, so I'm gonna.
But Donald Trump has a lot of the same tone.
Sure.
I mean, let's just be fair.
But as I said, Maxine Waters, and encourage people, if you see people within the administration, to get in their faces if they're at restaurants or whatever. And we've seen other examples of people that are protesting with the Kentucky kids that went to the
Covington
kids, where the people were getting up in their faces when we weren't doing anything. So I think this crudeness in politics has been around for a long time. I will admit that I think Donald Trump exacerbated it a lot, and a lot of people have taken their cues from that. I don't see where it ends now, Mike.
Well, that's a good point, because, like, for instance, with this, he got with his wish. I think you're right. He wanted to go viral, and he did. But the reaction in the blowback to these things pretty much always make it worse. So the question I have is, who benefits from the division? Brian Sims, and again, it's not about him because he's just an example who's kind of the flavor of the month on this whole thing. Who benefits from this? And why do people say, I'm going to go and be as hateful as I can possibly be because I don't like their ideas? Who benefits from it, and how does it affect the actual public policy that affects us?
I think who ultimately benefits from it is people like us that are in the media. You look at CNN and MSNBC, all during the Mueller collusion investigation, their ratings were sky high. They were competing with Fox News. As soon as the report came out, no collusion, their ratings dropped like a rock. We talk about this type of stuff. It makes good copy, good sound bites. But
it's pro wrestling and politics.
It is.
Depending on your perspective, you've got your baby face or your heel. Just depending on the Republicans are the heels for Democrats, and the Democrats are heels for Republican, and that's how we're treating this stuff. And this is real life important stuff.
And that's one of the criticisms that I have of people that are activists on the left and the right, is we look at our politicians and like they are sports teams. And, we're always going to root for our favorite sports teams whatsoever, instead of looking at it a little more in depth.
So the solution is we need to start instilling class on a personal level from us out to those around us.
It has to, because we're not going to get it from our leaders.
And Chris, people will know more about Project 21. What's the way to do it?
Nationalcenter.org is our website, and I can be reached at Chris_Arps at Twitter.
Chris, good to talk to you again,
good
my
talking
friend.
to you, sir.
All right, so